This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to Why Is Everyone Yelling with Lindsay Heiny. I am your host, Lindsay. Thank you for being here today. This is a podcast for parents or anybody helping raise kids. And I hope that you can take a little something from each episode for your everyday life or big picture life. Today is episode 37, and I'm talking with Stacey Heiny. Stacey is actually a podcast host who is part of my podcast network, Sandy Boy Productions. So she hosts the newest show in the podcast network called the Herban Farmacy. She is a certified holistic nutritionist, lifestyle wellness mentor, and advocate for better beauty. Stacey believes in a holistic approach to life, the power of food as medicine, and fostering community to change the world. Okay, I have learned so much from Stacey over the past year. So she is so passionate about holistic living, plant-based nutrition, and just low-tox living in general. And I gotta say, I adapt a handful of the strategies she talks about in this episode into my own life and things that I learn along the way from her on her Instagram and on her podcast, The Herban Farmacy. But I want you all to know, this is not an all or nothing thing. She's gonna give us 10 tips for living a little bit more holistically, if you will, in this episode. And I don't want anybody to feel judgment here. It's just some ideas and tips for how Stacey would call it, leveling up your life. Stacey is so positive and she brings so much great energy. And what I love about Stacey and her story is she just feels really good after making a whole lot of lifestyle changes, and she wants us to feel that good too. So she shares a message that can hopefully help all of us make a couple switches or swaps to feeling a little bit better every single day. Make sure you go check out her podcast. I've already learned a lot from her in her podcast. She interviews tons of medical doctors and people that really know what they're talking about over on her podcast. And again, it's called the Herban Farmacy. It's part of the Sandy Boy Productions network. Stacey is also the mother of an adorable 4-year-old son, Cohen, and she gives us a couple of fun little recipes for kids, fun little ideas to get some more plants into our kids' bodies or on their plates that I think you'll be surprised by, and hopefully our kids will enjoy this little tip she gives us. You can find Stacey on Instagram. She's the Herban Farmacy over there. Make sure you give us a shout on Instagram as well. We are Why Is Everyone Yelling? And if you like this episode, leave us a quick rating and review and share it with your friends on social media. Okay, enjoy my conversation with Stacey Heiny. All right, well, today on Why Is Everyone Yelling, we have Stacey Heiny on the podcast. Welcome to the show, Stacey.
Thank you, friend. Thanks, Linz. I'm super excited to be here and get to know a little bit more about your audience and what they need in terms of living a holistic life.
I love it. I first was introduced to Stacey because she was interviewed by one of our former co-hosts on the Illuminate podcast, my very good friend, Emily Reddington. Long story short, Emily's husband turned vegan because he had some high cholesterol. And I think it was 1 month into a vegan lifestyle and it totally fixed the problem. And so she started researching and she found you on Instagram and has learned so much from you since. Isn't that an amazing story though?
Yes, I love it. And she actually found us, I think, through maybe our elderberry syrup originally.
Okay.
And then the vegan story, it's just really cool. So yes, I love it. I love how it's all unfolded.
It's the coolest thing. So Stacey, tell us a little bit about your business. You mentioned your elderberry syrup. So what do you and your husband Kyle do?
Yes. So, okay. I am a lifestyle wellness mentor, a holistic nutritionist. I teach on behalf of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. I teach food for life classes with them to help people switch to more plants and decrease their chronic illness, getting chronic illness and reversing it if they do have like heart disease, diabetes, if they're overweight or obese, high blood pressure, etc. And then I teach people how to live a low tox life because that's just kind of part of my story. It's just a big passion of mine. I'm an ex Pilates studio owner, and then my husband and I own a farm called Green Growers, where we grow organic produce and sell at the farmers market. This year, we're actually doing 3 farmers markets, so that's really exciting. And we also sell elderberry syrup because it is a clinically proven, very high antioxidant herb. You can call it an herb if you want to, but it's really a berry, and is proven to help ward off viruses and bacterial infections and help you heal quickly, compared to if you aren't treating it. So we love the elderberry syrup, and we made a business out of that about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
I want to dig into elderberry syrup just a little bit more because I started hearing about it about 2 years ago, and it was like, okay, take this during cold and flu season, blah, blah, blah. Tell us like all the things you know. I know you know way more than you probably have time to tell on this show, but like, why does it work? What does it do?
Well, it has to do with the polyphenols in the elderberry itself. So, polyphenols are just plant compounds that are incredibly high in antioxidants. You'll find them really high on the ORAC scale, which is it's like a scale of antioxidant levels. You'll find a lot in blueberries. You'll find a lot in acai berries, like people eat acai bowls and stuff like that. But elderberry is like way up there. It like blows all of them out of the water. And actually, we started making this elderberry syrup before. I mean, there was some science out, but like now there's more, and it's just going to become even more mainstream. And we learned about elderberry syrup. I think it was from my midwife, to be honest, and that was like over 4 years ago. Had to have been like 5.5 years ago, actually, because it was like way back when I was trying to get pregnant. And they have it at the store shelves, like pretty much anywhere. But it's called Sambucus. That's the plant that it's called. That's like the plant name, the Sambucus plant. And they've been making it for years and years, but they make it with like preservatives and tons of high fructose corn syrup. So I wanted to have a healthy alternative. So I started researching how to make it at home. And not only can we use the elderberry itself, but we can add other beneficial herbs, which is what we do. We add like ginger and cinnamon, like Ceylon cinnamon, Vietnamese cinnamon, 2 different cinnamons to help with inflammation. I mean, marshmallow root, which is good for like it's a mucilaginous herb. So if you're coughing or if you have like a lot of phlegm, it helps with that. So we just wanted a healthier alternative, and it became something that we were using as just a little immune booster during what you would call the flu season, which is actually just decreased vitamin D season, if you will. It's just like we need more vitamin D in our bodies. And if we don't have enough, our immune systems tend to suffer because of that. So taking just a little bit during that time, maybe 5 days a week, every day, can help to boost your immune system because it's so high in antioxidants.
And so you guys grow the elderberry plant and then
We don't.
You don't. Okay.
We
So
don't.
where do you source it?
We source from a organic wholesaler.
Okay.
There was actually an elderberry shortage a few years ago, and we had to like source from like Europe, and we had to find all of the places, like all of the organic sources around the world.
Sounds
it was
stressful.
Pretty scary. We were like, oh my God, so we need to like hoard the elderberries. But it's really popular. It's a really beneficial herb. It's awesome.
So I'm curious, when did you get interested in this holistic, low tox, plant-based lifestyle? I know it's probably a big, long story, but what's the short version?
It is. But I think it's just fair to start, like, just to tell where it really started. And if I think back, because I'm still kind of going through this journey, like I've just been so focused on, okay, what can I learn next? How can I move forward? How can I get better? But I haven't really thought deeply about like the very like beginning of it until just recently when I was doing work with my brand coach and she's like, let's make a storyboard. And I'm like, oh, and we're going to dig deep and we're going to go all the way back to like childhood. And we're going to understand like why we are the person we are today and why we do the things that we do, why we're so driven and passionate about certain things. And it really started when I was pretty young. I mean, I remember in junior high, specifically, like I was in social studies class and I had hives all over my face and they would itch. It was horrible. They hurt and they itch and I would only get them on my face. And then it was right after that or right before that. I think it was kind of like all at the same time, but I was pretty young in junior high. It was time to run the mile. And like, I was a very sporty girl. I mean, I was in cheerleading and dance. And I mean, I did softball and I was active, if you will. I wasn't super sporty, but I was active. But when it came to run the mile, I always hated that part because I'm just not a good runner. And I mean, I can become a good runner. I need to switch that wording right now.
I know someone who can help you.
I have run a few 5Ks. Yes, I have. And 10Ks. I have. But that was when I was back in exercise science during my like college days. But anyways, I could not run a mile. Like I was the slowest in my entire class. And it's because I had exercise induced asthma. I was diagnosed with that at that same time. And then right around that same time, I started getting eczema all over my arms. And it's like, we just treated me with all the medicines, like all the things, like give me the albuterol, give me all the eczema like stuff. We didn't know where the hives were coming from. It was all likely from dairy. Now that I think back, I mean, truly like dairy is very directly linked with like eczema and asthma. And yeah, so it was probably just my diet. I mean, I was born in 85, you know, like the 80s, the 90s kids, like that's when all the packaged stuff came out. That's when the kids cuisine was like all the rage. Like I remember being so excited about eating those kid cuisines. Like what was my dessert going to be in my microwaved dinner?
Oh
like,
yeah. And Lunchables. That was like so exciting when my mom would give into a Lunchable.
Fruit by the foot, toaster strudels. Like now I never was allowed pop, but my mom would buy Lunchables. So, I mean, she obviously, she didn't know what was going on, but
I was so jealous of the fruit by the foot kids. Like my mom never bought that stuff. And I was always my friend, Nikki Young.
They were
so jealous.
Expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, those were expensive. Yeah. My friends would come over and they would be like, your pantry is so awesome. Like we had all the Gushers and like all the things. And so I just didn't feel well, like going into my adolescence and into like my late teens, I just did not feel well. And I kind of crashed around 20 years old after partying so much and just like growing through all of that. Like I still had eczema. I still got the hives. I still had like asthma. And I was just like, dude, life does not have to be like this. There's gotta be a better way. And I just kind of fell into like, I read Alicia Silverstone's book called The Kind Diet, made a big transformation with that. And then I don't know, I think that's kind of where it all started. That's just like, that's the modified version of it.
Yeah.
But, I was tired of feeling that way. And thank God I've outgrown all of that. And I don't want anybody else to feel that way. I don't want other people to feel that way. And I started just kind of learning in my early 20s about like environmental toxins and gosh, like body burden. And, you know, it's not just what we're eating, but it's what we're surrounded by, what we're breathing, what we're drinking, who we're spending our time with, like if we're being mindful with our time, all the things. So I feel so much better than I used to, that it's just become a huge passion of mine to help people feel the same way.
I love that you see that, like you see that light and you feel it, and that's literally what you want to do with your life is so that share it so that other people can feel as good as you feel.
Totally.
I have a side question here, and this is because our episode this week on the show is about alcohol, and my sister just gave up alcohol for 8 months, and we really do a deep dive into that. And so, I'm like you, I partied in college, and I do drink alcohol now. I'm curious because I've heard, so Stacey's podcast is called the Herban Farmacy. Shout out to the Herban Farmacy. It's a part of the Sandy Boy podcast network. So go check it out if you're interested in this stuff. But I've heard you talk about alcohol in your episodes with some of the doctors that you've talked to. And I'm curious, do you ever drink alcohol?
Yeah, I do. And it's just becoming, it's kind of crazy. I mean, who knows what next year will be, but like, it's becoming less and less. I really do enjoy, I'm not even going to be like, I'm just going to be real.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the flavor. I really do enjoy the way that I feel after I have a drink.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, I do. So, however, I will say that just like, maybe it's because my diet has gotten even more clean and a little bit more clean and a little bit more clean, if you will, like just less salt, less oil, less sugar over the years, that like, I just don't feel stellar at like just even the day after, or even just like a few hours after. And I can tell the difference in my productivity. I can tell the difference in my vibe and like my patience. And it is, like, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to drink forever, but I will say that when COVID hit, I think I went a good 6 months without having a single drink, just because I was like in this mindset of like, I am going to be as healthy as I possibly can so that I don't, like if I do get sick, that it's not going to be bad. And I was so productive during that time and just, I don't know, but yes, I do. And if I do drink, my preference is,
I'm so curious.
My preference is like, you probably know about Simplicity Juices, maybe because they're a local company.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're so good
at Simplicity Juice. Yeah. I like a fresh pressed juice with like gin or vodka, or actually tequila is my preference. Like, an actual like green juice, like an actual,
so you're getting some nutrients in there,
a really good juice, and like tequila is so good. And, we don't need the agave or anything in there. We don't need the sugar in there. Honestly, like just fruit juice, like straight watermelon juice with a little bit of tequila, like silver tequila, and a little key lime squeeze
that sounds really good.
Phenomenal.
Sounds
it's so
really good.
And yeah, you're hydrating at the same time. And there are some studies out there that show, resveratrol, like, which is another polyphenol in the red family that comes from like specific grapes, especially, that are beneficial to our cardiovascular system. And some people in the blue zones, which is, like areas of the globe that have the longest living people, they do enjoy a little bit of resveratrol in liquid form every day via wine. And, via red wine. And actually it comes from specific grapes, Lindsay. So I went kind of down a deep dive,
of course
like
you did.
during the summer when I went to, start having a few drinks every now and then again. I was like, so if I do want to drink wine, because wine's just like not my fave, like in terms of flavor, but if I do want to drink it, what is the best? And there's actually like a brand called Blue Zones wine, which is like the highest antioxidant. But it's $60 a bottle.
Wow.
So what I did, and you have to buy a case.
Wow.
So you have to get a full case of it. If you want it. But I was like, okay, well, tell me like what kind of grape is in here, because I'm going to find it. And it's the Cananu grape, and they actually have it in a local place called Vine and Table in Carmel. So I get that brand of red wine. That's
so expensive though. I've literally never, I think that my expensive bottle is like $20.
I think the one at like Vine and Table it's like $20, but you can tell the difference. You can totally
it is. Okay.
tell.
So that's not a $60 bottle.
No, that's not a 60. It might be like 30. It's like 20 or 30.
But also, like, I do find if you're buying a more expensive bottle of wine rather than like the $12 cheap bottles of wine, you're probably going to drink less and enjoy it more.
You treat it differently.
And
it's just about like that intentional living, like, and that is, that's a lot of what I teach too. It's just like, try to slow down.
Yep.
And, because life is so fast. And if we're more intentional with like the purchases that we make, and like if we're, like trying to be a little bit more earth friendly, like we're just more intentional in everything. So it all just kind of folds together.
Yes, I'm such a big believer in the slow down. I will not for a second give up my snuggle time with my 4-year-old right now. Every morning when he gets up, no matter what I'm doing, I am putting my stuff down and we're just going to snuggle for like 20 minutes. And it feels like a long time when it's busy mornings. Like you have to get your kids to school, you have to make the lunches, but like I don't care. Like he is not going to be 4, in like 3 years. Like it's going so fast. So like I am always trying to be intentional about the slowdown. And I think talking about it is important too, because, we live in a culture where it's like, I think that it's becoming less, but for a long time it was like glamorous to be busy. I have so much to do. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's fine. But I don't know if it was, no, it's Liz Bohannon. I've been reading her book, and so much of her book is like the way you fill your days is the way you live your life. Right. And so I'm trying so hard to think my life through that way, in that lens, every single day.
I love that. Yeah. Kind of taking like a bird's eye view too. And just like, what does your life look like on a daily basis? Is it intentional, or like, are you just like
flying through?
Yeah.
And that's not to say I do that every single day. I mean, we're about to freaking move halfway across the country. Like there's going to be some chaotic, hectic days for sure.
You're just going to be getting through. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, Stacey. So let's just start super simple. First of all, why do you think it's important to introduce these low tox strategies into our homes and lives?
Okay. Well, it's kind of like a full picture. When you're living a low tox life, it kind of happens to be that you're also kind of living a sustainable life too. And you're protecting the environment at the same time, most of the time.
I love that.
Which is really, really cool. But not just that, but we're also supporting usually smaller industries with our dollars there. So we vote with our dollars every single time that we make a purchase. And, like sometimes you buy from the big box and sometimes you try to support the local. Just, you do the best that you can. But then it's really about total body burden. And this is what I teach clients about all the time. And this is really important because we might feel amazing as children, or even into like, up to like 50. But at a point, our body will not be okay anymore. Like this is what I'm trying to teach people to want to do. We should be thinking about dying from old age and not dying from a chronic illness, because the people that live the longest in this world they die from old age. They don't die from cancer, which is our number 2 killer. They don't die from cardiovascular disease, which is our number 1 killer, which has so much to do with what we're doing on a daily basis, our environment, our food, our lifestyle. And it matters a lot. Like all these things have a compound effect on our body. So if we can make better choices on a daily basis, surround ourselves in our home to decrease our stress, decrease the body burden in terms of like toxic load, it's better. Like we can only take so much.
Pause on the cancer thing really quick, because I'm just wondering if people in their head are thinking, well, some cancer is genetic. Yes. I am someone that has been diagnosed with a BRCA2 gene mutation. I totally see through that lens. However, a lot of this stuff is preventative, and also like if you do happen to get a diagnosis because of some genetic issue or something like that, there are steps you can take to slow things down and live better. So that's where my head goes, because like my grandma had breast cancer in her 40s. I think that probably one of the big reasons that she overcame that, beyond I do think it was a miracle. I really do, because she was stage 4 and it was just really bad. I think a lot of it probably had, like, some of that had to do with her lifestyle as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I even teach in my Food for Life classes, like there's a whole cancer, like core, there's a whole, like multiple classes within a cancer section, that teaches people who have had cancer how to decrease the relapse and how to keep it at bay. And so much of it has to do with, if we're turning on or off these genes, that we all carry. We all have cancer genes. Like we're walking around with them every day. And it is up to us via our lifestyle, a lot of our lifestyle, to either turn them on or turn them off. So that's really why it's so important. So we've got some ways
Yes.
to decrease our environmental toxins. So this first one is, like I said, environmentally friendly, at the same time reducing our toxic load using dryer balls. So they do make like these like silicone ones, I think. I don't use the silicone ones, but I do use wool dryer balls. I do know there are some vegans out there which I am, you could call me a vegan. I'm a whole food plant-based person. But I do have the wool dryer balls and they will last me forever. Like I don't have to buy dryer sheets. So use those instead of dryer sheets. Not only is it more eco-friendly, but it is like way less of a toxic load on your body, because the dryer sheets they have material on them to actually transfer the fragrance and transfer whatever chemicals are in them onto the clothing to make them smell good, which there's parabens in there, which make things smell for a really long time, and a whole bunch of other chemicals that you don't want to be inhaling. So if you're smelling fragrances on a consistent basis, that could potentially be a neurotoxin. It could potentially hurt your lungs, like damage your lungs over time. And it could also give you skin irritations. So a lot of the dryer sheets just have fragrance in them, and fragrance is just like code word for up to 3,500 chemicals that you have no idea about.
Wow.
What they're in there. So that would be one easy swap that you can do.
Okay, I use dryer balls. I'm super excited. I'm like passing this test so far. I think that mine are wool, and I was going to ask you, how often do I have to change those out? Because I've had these for a long time. And sometimes I put a little essential oil in there. Is that?
Yes, yeah, I do too.
Some lavender.
I put essential. I just wash mine in the washer.
You wash them in the washer?
Yeah. Okay. I'll just wash them in the washer like every few months.
And mine were cheap. They weren't expensive.
Yeah. Oh no, they're like $12 on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like you don't
That's where
have
I got
to
mine.
get anything fancy. So, and like wool is like naturally antibacterial. So like you're good to go there. I mean, but I just throw them in the wash.
Yeah.
Like every few months, and they have lasted me for years.
It's way cheaper than buying dryer sheets too.
Way cheaper. It's more affordable. It's more eco-friendly. Yeah. And it's better for you. So that is a super easy swap. The next one is to use safe laundry detergent. So how in the world do you find safe laundry detergent? An easy thing that you can do is go to the environmental working group, check on that, see what you're currently using, type that in. And if you have one that is like a 3 or above, try to find a safer solution. So some brands are like the Ecos brands. Whole Foods has a great brand that doesn't have fragrance in it. And when I say that it doesn't have fragrance in it, it doesn't mean that it can't smell good. Like you can get ones that have essential oils in them that do have a smell to them. But if it says fragrance in there, like again, we're playing with a chemical concoction, a chemical cocktail that could, if you do have children that have like allergies or eczema or asthma, like that could be the culprit. And so that's just like an easy swap. And here's a little tip for laundry too. If you need your things to be more white, you can just use vinegar in the rinse cycle. That is really effective for helping brighten whites. And then also
just like white vinegar, just like distilled white vinegar. Okay.
So cheap and simple. And then also sodium bicarbonate. So like if you're buying like things that like make your whites brighter, most of the time the main ingredient is sodium bicarb, and like you can just buy that on Amazon and just do that yourself instead of buying like under the name brand. So that's a little bit technical, but that's a little tip for laundry. So go to the EWG, find some safer solutions. Another great brand that I love is called Molly Suds. So that's a really It's a good one. And they are non-tox. I'm actually going to I'm going to try these sheets that like don't even come in plastic. Like they're not like a liquid, they're just like sheets, and they're supposed to be super eco-friendly, and you just throw them in like
for detergent.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're supposed to be just as effective, but I have yet to give a review on that.
So you put them in the big bin? Like you don't put them in a little...
You just throw it in.
Okay.
You just throw it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep us posted.
I know. I will. I'm excited. So the next one is to check your mattress.
Oh gosh. My mattress is so old. And they're so expensive.
They are. And it's just like, just kind of like one of those things that you can't avoid. Like, and then you feel bad getting rid of your other one. You're like, what am I going to do with this big, huge, massive thing?
It's so big.
So look for Green Guard, or, a lot of like the avocado mattress is a really great brand.
Okay.
And you just want to make sure that they are like Green Guard certified, because mattresses a lot of the time have flame retardants on them.
Ooh.
And I learned a lot about this when I was buying a mattress for Cohen.
That's her son.
Yeah, for my son. He turns 4 today.
Oh, so happy birthday, Cohen.
I'm feeling you on the 4-year-old thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So we for some reason here in this country spray car seats and mattresses and furniture and carpet with flame retardants and volatile organic compounds, also known as VOCs. And we don't need to do that. Like there's no reason, because if there's a fire, like it's going to burn anyway. Like, I mean, who cares about that? Let's care about the people, right? Honestly. So it's just kind of like part of the industrialization here in this country, and we don't need that. So look for Green Guard certified.
Hey everybody, a quick break here to thank Previnex for supporting this episode of the podcast. Previnex is where I get all of my vitamins and supplements, as well as vitamins for my kids and protein powder. And guess what? Their protein powder is vegan, so that goes along with this episode with Stacey, since she is an advocate for plant-based eating herself. One thing I love about their kids' vitamins, first of all, my kids actually like the taste of them. 3 of my 4 kids are now eating them plain. And then for the other kid, I throw it in a smoothie and he eats it just like that. They love the Super Bites. And Previnex has a really cool give back model. For every bottle you purchase, they donate a bottle to malnourished kids around the world. And guess what? Just a couple months ago, they hit their 1 million donation mark for their Super Bites, which is really cool. Their protein powder is packed with protein. 2 scoops gives you 20 grams, and it is so delicious. My favorite is the vanilla. Sometimes I just shake it up with water after a quick workout and get my protein back in. Sometimes I put it in a smoothie, and it's delicious either way. One thing I love about their protein powder is it has all kinds of vitamins and nutrients in it as well that other protein powders do not have. So make sure you go check it out. And when you go to Previnex.com, you can use the code Lindsey15, that's LINDSEY 15, and that'll save you 15% off your order. Thank you, Previnex, for supporting the podcast, and you all enjoy the rest of my conversation with Stacey. Question, what kind of car seat does Cohen have? Does he just have a normal car seat?
He does, but it's from Europe. It's Nuna brand. Okay. They do sell the Nuna brand as well at Bye Bye Baby or whatever it's called. Yeah, Bye Bye Baby. And like most of your kids' things. But we bought the Nuna Rava. They, for some reason, don't have it here in this country, where it's like it grows with them. So we had to make a big investment. It was like a $400 or $500 car seat, but like it goes all the way up. Like
he's still in it.
And he's still in it.
Yeah.
Like, and he will be, like, and it converts and all that stuff. But they have the same brand here in the US, which, by the way, I found out that like some brands, the same brands here in the US are sprayed with stupid flame retardants underneath the same brand. It's just,
it's the same brand, but they don't spray it over there in the UK, but they spray it here. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. They do the same with beauty. Same with beauty products, same with cleaning products, like same with baby products.
Like Johnson & Johnson baby products here in the US are totally different formulated than the European Union, because the European Union has better standards.
Wow.
So, so mattresses, look for latex. That's typically safer as well. And then we want to use high quality air purifiers. If we, what a lot of us don't know is that our indoor air is way more polluted than the outdoor air. People are like, oh, I live in the city. Like, it's totally better to be in my apartment. Actually, no. Like, it's like I was just saying, the paint on your wall, the carpet on the floor, the fragrances in your products, your dish soap, like all the things, it's like in a box. Like, we're just like stuck in a box. So use high quality air purifiers. Air Doctor is great. We have Air RX is like really, really good. It's like hospital grade. And there are different brands and different like levels in which you can get, but I highly suggest, like, if you're going to get one, go for the better and the more expensive one, because they'll last you a really long time.
How expensive are they? Like, give me a price range.
Like the one that we have is like $600.
Okay. And is that for your whole house?
No.
Okay.
It's not. But you can't, like, when we go and build out on the farm, which is what we will probably be doing unless we move to Kauai, which would be a dream. Then we might look in, like, they do have like in-home air filtration that you can like add to your air ducts and stuff like that. But most of the time you'll want to have a few in your most high traffic areas.
Okay. So like, what about your bedroom? You spend so many hours.
That's where we have it right now. Like,
okay.
And because, well, at least for right now, because in the summer we have the windows open as much as we possibly can, which is the next tip that I have. So especially if you don't have an air purifier, open your windows as much as you possibly can.
Okay. Keep
them open, let the air flow. That is going to be super beneficial for the quality of air that you're breathing. And then consider buying organic apparel. Now, you might think that this is like way off the crunchy cuff, but like, you know what? Like, there are some really cool sustainable brands out there. And again, when it comes to kids apparel, you would be surprised when you like, there's a documentary called Stink that everybody should watch, especially if they have girls and even little boys. Like, it was about like Justice, the store called Justice, and like their apparel is sprayed with chemicals and flame retardants on them. Like, why? We don't know, but that's what the documentary was about.
In case your child gets set on fire somewhere.
Yeah, as though that's going to save them. I'm sorry, no. It's just big money. So, what are we going to do with these chemicals? Well, we'll spray them on this. Like, it just doesn't make sense. They do it to couches. And so your furniture, like when we get a new couch, which we are very due for, ours is 10 years old, like we're getting one without flame retardants. And yes, they're more expensive, but like you sit on it and you breathe it. Like, these are carcinogens and we're surrounded by them.
And one of the things I think to think about is like Stacey said, like, when they're ready for a new couch, that's the kind they're going to get. Like, yeah. She's not saying, and I'm not saying like, go out and do all these things right now. It's like take the steps. Like, I'm due for a new mattress. So now when I buy a new mattress, I'm going to think that through instead of just buying any old mattress. But I'm not going to like go out and replace my couch tomorrow, because it's 2 years old.
And it does cost, like sometimes it does cost you more. Like with the apparel, like I like to support, I do not buy all organic apparel. No, I do not. I do not buy all sustainably made apparel. No, I do not. But like, if you are looking for brands like that, a lot of the times they definitely aren't sprayed with like, with flame retardants and other like random chemicals, but you're also just putting your dollars into, companies that are making a difference in the world. And like, so Packed Apparel, I love Packed Apparel so much. Their clothing lasts like 5 times longer than other brands that I buy. And they also plant a tree for every purchase that you make. Like, it's a good, it's good. So especially for your kiddos though, watch the documentary Stink.
Okay.
Do that. People need to watch that. It's not just about that clothing brand, but it's also about like all the chemicals that are in cleaning products, etc. And how we can just make better choices. Your next step is to vacuum regularly. Make sure that your vacuum has a HEPA filter. use safe household cleaners, which we can dive into a little bit more there. How are you going to know if your household cleaner is safer? Well, you're going to, again, go to the environmental working group. It's the easiest database to search, and try to stay below a 3. A lot of the times, like just don't look at the label on the front. Like just don't, because we're greenwashed all the time. Meaning that it says, phthalate free, it's paraben free, it's eco-friendly, like whatever. That doesn't mean anything. Turn the label around and look at the environmental working group, or if something like is just like, what is that? Like, and you have no idea, look it up. I mean, it's worth it, because a lot of the times there's some really random chemicals put into our household cleaners. So, but if you don't want to look at the label, go to the environmental working group and try to stay below a 3, or make your own, which we can talk about.
Yes.
The last 2 tips that I have that are pretty easy, is dust weekly. Now that's not going to cost you a ton, right? So just dust, because dust holds these volatile organic chemicals, these VOCs. I mean, like they come up from your carpet and stuff like that, and your carpet pads, and dust holds them, and you don't want to be breathing those in. So dust, and then vacuum, and then filter your water. If you don't have a whole home reverse osmosis, it's okay. Those are expensive. But you can do things like getting a Berkey filter that can help flush out a lot of like the chlorines, and like there's fluoride added to city water. I mean, like why? We don't know. That's a mystery, but we don't need those chemicals. So filter your water if you can. We have like a whole home system. And then you can get like really easy, cheap water tests at your local hardware. So if you're like, well, I don't know if my water is like gross or not, go get a little water test strip and check that out. AquaTrue and Aquasana are also brands that you can look into. So the Berkey filter is like something that you just fill up and it just sits on your countertop. But like there are also ones that you can put like under your sink and in the garage for like your entire house. But filtering your water not only is better for your body internally when you're drinking water, because I mean, water is like essential, like it's essential, right? And we want to make sure that our water is clean, truly. But also if you do have skin issues, if you have psoriasis, if you have rosacea, if you have eczema, if you have like skin allergies, dermatitis, filtering your water can actually make a massive difference.
Wow.
Because oh yeah, there are pharmaceuticals in our waterways. I mean, people dump their pharmaceuticals down the toilet, and like we just don't think about all of the chemicals that are coming on us. So before we had our whole home system, I just got these really on Amazon crystal filters are ones that you can put on your shower, but we got like an Aqua brand, but it's just like you put it on your shower head. And it's like 10 or 12 bucks, and it filters your water that way. It also helps your hair feel more silky and your skin feel better. So those are my tips.
Those Berkey filters, I think I saw Brianna Cook uses one of those. Are they kind of like cute too? Like they look nice?
Yeah, they are. They're super adorable.
Pretty.
They're like stainless steel.
Yeah. If you have the counter space for it, it looks nice too.
Yeah, if you have the counter space for it, right. They have all different sizes of Berkeys. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a good brand. It's a carbon filter. Kyle and I are weird, like Aquafina brand water is also carbon filter, and it gives us heartburn. So if you know that you're like sensitive to carbon, just know that about the Berkey filter versus other filters. I know that's really random, but carbon does a really good job of filtering, but some people are sensitive to it. So just be careful. Or charcoal. Sorry, not carbon. Charcoal.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm so curious, listeners, like what is the one step you're going to take today? So what do you say to people who are like, this is too overwhelming, I'm just going to keep living my life?
Well, here's the deal. If you do one thing, and that's fine. If it's too overwhelming, now like here, and like maybe there will be a little voice in the back of your head, like next time that you buy your household cleaner, and you'll grab for the 7th generation brand instead. And honestly, you're not going to be spending much more. If you do, it's like a few cents. Like it's like 50 cents more maybe. And your health is worth it. So there are some really easy things that you could do. Honestly, what I would say is just like probably the first and foremost in terms of like outside things, not necessarily even what you're eating, like just try to eliminate fragrance as much as you possibly can.
Okay.
Okay. Like, so if you're going to be buying something to clean with or to, for your laundry, fragrance, like, no, it's just too much of a code word. If it says essential oils, that's fine. That's totally fine. Like, but fragrance is just, it's just too sketch. There's just too many questions. There's too many chemicals that are possibly in that are very directly linked to human health issues. So I would do that if anything.
Okay. So, and I have another question. This is a beauty question. Stacey does sell Beauty Counter, and I buy my Beauty Counter from Emily Reddington. But your eyelashes are just insane. And I recently started using this lash therapy stuff. It's like, I should know, but I don't even really know what's in it. But I have noticed a huge difference in just like they feel healthier and more vibrant. But what the heck do you do to get those eyelashes?
Well, thank you. I do think that switching to a cleaner mascara has helped. So yeah, I actually don't use the Beauty Counter mascara at this time. What I do use is a brand called Milk Makeup.
Okay.
And it is a safer brand, and it has CBD oil in it.
Oh,
actually. It has hemp oil.
Your eyelashes are going to be happy.
They're like, yeah, they're happy. But it's like conditioning. And so, it's good. It's good for my eyelashes. I really do think that has made a big difference. Just switching to cleaner mascara in general. I also have the brand Jones Road mascara. Both, I think just switching to safer has really helped. I have tried castor oil. Maybe that is the ingredient that's in like this lash therapy that you're using.
I'll have to look at the ingredients.
Didn't really do anything for me, but I have heard a lot of people having like major success with castor oil for helping grow their eyebrows and their eyelashes.
Okay, so secondly, I use the Beauty Counter that the balm, the cleansing balm.
The cleansing balm.
That's how I wash my face every night. Do you use that, or do you use anything extra to get your eye makeup off?
That is what I was just going to say is I do think another reason why my eyelashes are not like rubbed off is because I use a gentle eye makeup remover. I actually use Beauty Counter eye makeup remover.
Oh, they have a remover too.
Yeah, because I don't like to rub my eyes. I do that before I even.
Yeah.
I mean, the cleansers that I use are oil cleansers most of the time. So they will remove the mascara, but you kind of have to rub. And not only is that going to add wrinkles around your eyes.
Oh, stop.
I know it's the truth though. Dang it. And I hear my esthetician every single time I'm like rubbing my face. She's like, you're creating wrinkles. And it's true. I mean, darn
yeah, because you really do have to rub that balm to get it off.
You really do. So I use the eye makeup remover first, and then I use a cleanser. I know it's one extra step, but it's totally worth it.
Well, I was so proud of myself because I'm like, this cleansing balm is like so simple, and yes, the balm itself is expensive, but it lasts a very long time, and you can do your whole face. But dang it, you do really have to rub your freaking eyes. Shoot.
Yeah, you really do.
Oh my gosh.
Especially if you're using a mascara that has like mineral oil in it.
Yeah.
So if you all as listeners are not using safer brands yet, I highly suggest checking out the Milk Makeup, the Jones Road, the Beauty Counter, the Thrive. There are other safer brands that don't have mineral oil that aren't going to give you the waterproof factor. They're not going to give you that like waterproof, like no budge factor, but you gotta weigh the pros and cons.
Okay. Lastly, we're going to wrap up with end of podcast, but lastly, this is a parenting podcast. And obviously this week and last week, we haven't been heavy on like parenting specific stuff, but I mean, this is living advice for like your entire home, obviously. So if you have kids or not, it doesn't matter. But I'm curious if you could give us like a simple vegan dish, because Stacey is a plant-based eater, that kids might enjoy.
Okay. I was going to tell you here. Here. Are you ready? I'm going to tell you something. You might think that I'm crazy, and you as listeners might think I'm crazy too, but I just want to encourage you to give this a try. It's not necessarily a dish, but it is a snack, and Cohen loves it. Now, yes, he's grown up eating this way.
Right.
However, I posted this a few days ago, or actually I did this live in my private Facebook group, which if you need guidance on like simple recipes, please join that group, because I try my best to give like holistic tips as much as I possibly can in that group. It's called the Herban Farmacy. But
We'll link it in the show notes.
This is what I encourage you to try. Just take some medjool dates, okay?
Okay.
Take some medjool dates, blend them in the blender with a little bit of water until it's like, you could even use coconut water, or you could even use soy milk to make it like creamy. But blend it until it's like a syrup. You can make it as thick or as thin as you want. And then dip some kale in it. Like, laugh if you want to, but it is really good.
Just plain raw kale.
Yes, like he loves it. And other kids made this, like other parents made this, and they were tagging me and they're like, oh my God, my kids love this.
Just
so
blend up dates and water.
Blend up dates and water. Like, it's why it's so much more beneficial. I mean, you could do the same thing with maple syrup if you want to. Like, you can have your kids dip some raw zucchini or veggies into some maple syrup and call it a day and be happy because they're eating their veggies. But date syrup is like next level because it has the fiber in it. And when you eat high sugar foods like dates, there's nothing wrong with them because they have the fiber attached, you're not going to get that sugar spike. So like your kids are not going to go like off the wire. They're going to get, an elevated glucose level. They're going to have energy, and it's going to be sustained energy because it has the fiber in it. So, and plus the amazing benefits of kale. And if we all know, kale is a little bit bitter. It can sometimes be bitter. That's because it has cancer crushing compounds in it. But when you dip it in date syrup, it is so good. And if your kids are just like, I'm not doing that with kale, then give them a piece of like lettuce or like just crunchy iceberg lettuce and let them dip away in the date syrup. It's delicious. It's refreshing. I know that was probably not a recipe that you were looking for, Lynn.
No, I love it.
But you guys, like, just try it. And then here, if you're just like, I can't do that, I can't get to that level, then my next thing would be to take a medjool date and take some almond butter or like a nut butter of some sort. Ideally raw. Raw nut butter is better for you, but it's totally okay if it's not raw. And put it into a date and pop it into the freezer. You could even put a few little chocolate chips on top of it, and it tastes like a Snickers bar.
So take the pit out.
Yeah, take the pit out, slice the date open,
okay.
Put a little almond butter, peanut butter, whatever your favorite is. If you want a few chocolate chips on top, do that. Pop it in the freezer. Best snack ever. Make them in like batches, and they are so good. They're like little energy bites. I mean, they're great. They have protein, fiber, glucose. It's good.
I'm going to do that. My kids actually do like dates. They'll like just eat dates plain. So that's...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's
Cohen
so
got
good.
a box of them for his birthday this morning. He was ridiculously thrilled. But just so that your listeners know, the medjool ones are the best, guys.
Okay.
Like the Neglet or Deglet or whatever, they're not as good.
Okay. So medjool. Okay, that's what I have in my house, but it's not because I knew that. It's just because that's what I happened to see at the store. Now I know.
Grocery stores are good. Yeah.
Okay, Stacey, what's something professionally or personally that you'd like to do that you haven't done yet?
Well, oh my gosh. I would really like to have a space. Well, okay. I want to have rescued animals.
Really?
I really want to have rescued animals on our farm.
Okay.
Or on wherever we end up living. I would really like to rescue some animals from like slaughter houses or something like that. I would really like to do that. So that I know is like definitely like a personal thing that has nothing to do with business. But I would like to be able to have a space where people can come, such as that place, like the farm, that they can experience like a farm to fork experience with all plant foods, that they can really understand how delicious plants can taste, and at the same time get in touch with nature and, maybe pick some flowers and just like have a full like experience of slowing down and enjoying like all of the flavors and all of the like all of the beauty that earth really does provide us. I did not plan for that answer, but that's kind of what I want to do. I want to have like a venue of some sort that people can enjoy that.
So I'm reading Liz Bohannon's book. She's the founder of Seiko Designs. I'm sure you've heard of her.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
And the part of the book I'm reading is she's talking about, this her big dream vision for Seiko, and how like if she just kept thinking about the big dream piece, like she never would have done anything. So she's talking about right now, like just taking the steps, like literally taking steps, because you like have this big dream, but there's so much to think about and so many things that have to happen for it to fall in place. So like just those first few baby steps are really like the most important. So
yes.
How do you process that in your head? Like you have this big dream, but it's like, okay, what do you do now?
I mean, it's exactly like, okay, so yes and yes. So if I were to have this space where there's like animals that are happy and like, the energy is like right, and like we're growing herbs and we're holding workshops on teaching people how to maybe make their own tinctures, because eventually I'm just about to start into like herbal, like a master herbalist certification. Like this is all, you have to just take the steps. And
yes,
so
there's your step right there.
That's part of my step. That's like a notch in my tool belt. But what I've been doing is living this lifestyle. And that is part of my steps. And this all started about 12 years ago. And you just have to like make these simple swaps. That's why Lindsay and I talked about like, okay, here are the things that you can do. And if you do these things, you're going to be surrounded by these reminders within your home. Like if you switch that dryer ball to the dryer ball from the dryer sheet, every single time you put the dryer ball in the dryer, you're like, I made a safer choice, like, and you're reminded. So if you have these reminders and you start living like one step at a time, maybe you buy organic produce versus non-organic produce, you're taking the steps to get there. And if you start living as though you are the person that you want to be, you will get closer to being that person. And yes, it's like, it's unfathomable. Like I just got back from a retreat trying to think of, we basically like went through like, what do we really truly want in our entire life? Like, what do we want our ideal life to look like? And that is like so hard. What does it smell like when you wake up? What are you tasting? Like, how does your food taste? What do you look like? What are you wearing? Do you get ready? Are you exercising? Like, get specific as you possibly can, and start taking the steps to become that person. And just one day at a time. I mean, you just have to step into it messily. Like, that's probably not a word. Just be messy and do what you can, and find that vision. Get really clear on your vision.
Okay, Stacey, what's the most recent book you've read?
Okay, so Atomic Habits by James Clear.
I gave up on that book.
Well, get it on Audible.
Well, the only reason I gave up, I've said this a million times. I don't know on what podcast that I said this on, but I had just read Essentialism, and I was just like I've read so many self-helpy books recently, or like get your life together books, that I was like, I just need a break from that. I think if I would have read that first, I would have loved it, but I had just finished Essentialism, and they're sort of similar. So, do you have a favorite kids book?
I do. Currently, I have a few. Lola Plants a Garden.
Oh,
that's a fun one. And then We All Love. That one is like about compassion. And then I Can Do Hard Things. So those are three.
I love the names of those books.
But yeah, I Can Do Hard Things is like a affirmation book. And then Lola Plants a Garden just kind of shows kids how, where their food comes from, and like how things grow. And so many kids just don't know that. And it's pretty important when it comes to like what they're eating and stuff like that, being connected to that. So yes.
Okay, Stacey, what's your last message you want to leave with the audience today?
Okay, guys. So take a step back and look at your life in a bird's eye view. What do you want your life to look like? And, 10 years from now? And how are you going to take a step today to become that person that you want to be 10 years from now? How are you going to live on a daily basis? What choices are you going to make? Where are you going to put your dollars? Who are you going to surround yourself with? What are you going to eat? Think of all of the specifics and just dump them out, and write them down in your ideal life, and then take a step today to get closer to that. And just trust that all of your efforts will manifest. They will.
So wonderful. Thank you so much, Stacey.
You're welcome, friend. It was awesome.
All right, friends, thanks for being here today. Thank you, Stacey, for coming on the show. Again, make sure you go check out Stacey's podcast, The Herban Farmacy, as well as her Instagram, The Herban Farmacy, over there. You can find us on Instagram. We are Why Is Everyone Yelling? If you did enjoy this episode, leave us a quick rating and review and let us know what you thought. You can find me personally on Instagram. I'm Lindsay Heiny 626 over there. If you want to check out Previnex for their vitamins, supplements, protein powder, or kids vitamins, go to Previnex.com. Use the code Lindsay15, LINDSEY15 for 15% off. Hey, thanks for being here. If you have any guest suggestions or anything at all you'd like to hear on this podcast, any topics, let us know. You can email myself, Lindsay at sandyboyproductions.com, or my assistant, Emma at sandyboyproductions.com, and we'll get back to you. Thanks for being here. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next time on Why Is Everyone Yelling?